Hello, Cricuters, and welcome to Cricketing with Delonda. It's me again, Delonda, and I'm not going to be on the camera for this tutorial. However, this might be a little bit of a longer tutorial because I am going to show you how to use the 5 tools that are in CRICUT Design Space in the bottom right toolbar. But I do want you to stay tuned because there is a blooper at the end. We had to record this intro twice because my dog actually sneezed while I was talking. So, like I said, I'm going to show you how to use the 5 tools. There is the attach, there is weld, there is slice, there's also contour, and last but not least, there's also flatten. And I'm going to show you how to use every single one of those tools. And so without further ado, let's head on over to CRICUT Design Space. I am in CRICUT Design Space. And the goal for this tutorial is to show you how to use all 5 of these tools that are down here in the bottom right hand corner of CRICUT Design Space. The first one, we're not going to go in order though. We will start with attach, okay? So one of the options within CRICUT Design Space is a tool that's called attach. When you attach 2 images together, you are basically just putting them together, and when you get ready to cut them out, there will still be cut lines in the images. I'll use 2 hearts as an example. Okay, so let's just say I went over to my shapes tool and I grabbed a heart from the shapes tool. Let me change the color of the heart to red. Okay, and I'll duplicate that. So now I have 2 hearts. So if I put these 2 hearts together, you can see they are the exact same size. And if I were to change the color of one of these hearts, let's say I changed the color of this heart to, let's say, blue. And I wanted to cut these out and get them put together. If I were to do that, if I put these hearts together and I wanted to cut them out and I wanted them to just stay aligned, let me go ahead and align them to the bottom. Okay, if I were to put these together like this and click the attach button, I want you to pay attention to what happens here, okay? If I click attach, now both hearts change to the same color, because if I'm telling CRICUT Design Space that I want them to be attached, that means I want them to also be cut together. So I still have this line here. So if I were using adhesive vinyl and I put this on the mat, like let's just say I went ahead and clicked make it, I would have a cut line here on these 2 hearts, okay? And I'm going to show you what that looks like because I'm actually going to cut them out so you can see what that looks like. But what I really want you to pay attention to is this line that's right here, okay? On this part right here, I was trying to use 5 stars to demonstrate what attach looks like and the benefit of using attach, but I did not do a good job because I did not ungroup the stars, so it would have been hard to really get the full effect. But the reason why you would use attach is to keep any image aligned and connected the same way that you see them on the screen or in CRICUT Design Space. So right there on the canvas, if I wanted those stars to stay aligned when I cut them, I would use the attach option or the attach tool, okay? Okay, let's look at weld. Weld is one of those features or tools that is kind of confusing because most people don't know when to use weld or how to use weld. Weld is different from attach. I'll use hearts again as an example. So I'll grab 2 hearts from the shapes tool, or I'll just grab 1 heart and I can duplicate it. Let me make it a little bit bigger first. Okay, now I'll duplicate it. And I'm going to change the color of these hearts to blue. Okay, change both of them. I'll leave one of this gray color. Okay, so right now they're not connected, they're not attached, they're just 2 individual hearts. If I were to try to connect them or attach them the way that I've done with these red hearts right here, I want you to see the difference. So I'm going to put them together the same way I did with those hearts, and I'll even align them so that they are aligned to the bottom. When I do that, if I click Weld, I want you to also pay attention to what happens here, okay? Now you see the difference? These two hearts are connected, but not in the same way that these two are. So when you weld a design or you weld an image, it does the same thing in terms of all going to one color, but you have a smoother cut. So if I were to cut these hearts, and I am because I want you to see what that looks like, you don't have any cut lines. In these two hearts, I'm going to have a cut line. Most of the time, Weld is used when you are using script font. Let me give you an example using my name. So if I were to type my name, Delonda, okay, and I were to change it to let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see it very well. And I were to change it to a script font. One of the script fonts that I love is Joseph Sophia. Okay, let me see what that looks like. Okay, let me turn the caps lock off so you can get a better view of it. Type my name again. And I'm not going to have the caps lock on. Okay. Unlock it. I'll make it a little bit bigger. So right now my name is not attached. It's the only thing it is right now is that it's grouped. Okay. And if I were to change the color, let's say I wanted to change the color of my name to green, and let me duplicate it. Okay. So right now, if I were to just cut my name in this green font and I wanted to attach it, you'll see that there are cut lines here. You might not be able to see it very well. Let me turn the grid lines off. You might not be able to see it very well, but if I were to cut this, if I were to cut my name with this green font and the attached, you would see cut lines. However, with my name welded, let me show you what it looks like. Okay, I don't know if you can tell that there's a difference here, but if I were to cut my name with just it being welded, it would be a smoother cut on my name. Okay, so that is weld, and that is how weld is different from attached. Let me move this down so you can continue to see that. Let me also change the color of this to blue. So everything that goes together will be the same color. How about if we do that? Okay, all of this will be red. And let me bring the view down on my screen. Okay, and let me also change this to red, and let me change this to blue. Okay, that looks kind of purple, but you get where I'm going. All right, so now let's look at Flatten. All right, Flatten is another one of those tools that, let me kind of just move this up to the top. All right, Flatten is another tool that is available within CRICUT Design Space that kind of confuses beginners a little bit. You would use Flatten if you wanted your image to be print then cut. Let me continue with the same examples that I've been using, which are the hearts. So if I grab a shape, and let's say I, grabbed heart and I made it a little bit bigger, and I changed the color of it to this orange, and I were to duplicate it. Okay. So if, I have two hearts, they're right next to each other. I can align them to the bottom the same way that I've done with the others. If I put these together, just like I did with the others, and I selected both of them and I click Flatten. So right now, if you look at my layers panel, both of these hearts are basic cuts. Okay. But if I click the Flatten, that changes them to a print then cut. Hopefully you're paying attention to what's going on my right in the layers panel. Okay. So it kind of does that same thing that happened with Weld. However, once I click make it, if I only had this on my screen, I would be prompted to print these hearts first and then allow my Cricut machine to cut them. Okay, so that is the difference. That's one difference. Okay, so let me do the same thing with my name. If I were to type my name again, and I type Delonda, okay, and I moved it down, and I made it bigger, and I changed the color to that orange, and I wanted to flatten it. Okay, you're gonna see now I have no cut lines at all, and it also changed my name to a print then cut. So if I were to hide all this other stuff and I were to click make it, I would get, I will be prompted on the next screen to load this, my name and these hearts on paper to be sent to the printer. Okay, so that's what Flatten does. All right, let's look at slice. Okay, so let me grab my word slice. Okay, and let me move it to the top. All right, and let me just scroll down a little bit and make it bigger. All right, so if I look at slice, and let's do the same thing. I'm going to grab a heart. I'm going to make it bigger. I'm only going to grab one this time. And I will change it to that same green. Let me make it a little bit bigger. And then let me type my name again. Okay. And I don't have to keep typing my name. I really could have just duplicated it from one of the top layers. Okay, I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. And the slice feature only works when you have 2 layers selected at a time. So if I were to put my name on top of this heart and center it, let's say I select the heart and my name, and I align, and I want to center it. Okay, not vertically, because that is not what I wanted. I want to center it. Okay, and I think I want to move it. Let me just move it up a little bit. I just prefer to move it up a little bit right there. Okay, if I wanted to use the slice feature, I could only have 2 layers selected at a time. And if you're paying attention, what's selected is my name and that heart. I have the option to slice. If I click slice, let me show you what will happen. Okay, so now my name should be sliced out of this heart. So I can move the heart, and I can see that, that layer is gone. This layer is gone, and now I have my name sliced out of that heart. Okay, now that's how you use the slice feature. I use the slice feature quite often because I think it's so cool. That's probably my favorite feature within Cricut Design Space. All right, and the last tool that I like to show you is one that's called Contour. I can contour my name if I wanted to. All right, so let me go and grab my word, contour, and let me move it all the way to the top so we can see it, and move it over. Okay, and make it a little bit bigger. All right, contour is, how do I explain contour? Contour is one of those features that allows you to remove cut lines or remove pieces of a basic cut image. Okay, so let me use a Cricut Cutie to give you an example of contour. Okay, so let's get this guy right here. Okay, if I was to take this little guy right here and change him, let's say I want to change him to blue because I want him to match the word contour. Okay, and I wanted to, just change him up just a little bit. Okay, if I click on him, let me duplicate him so you can see the difference. Okay, so this is not contoured. I'm going to contour this one so you can see what that looks like. Let me move it out a little bit more so we can kind of see it in action. Okay, let me click contour and move them just a little bit more. Okay, now let me click it again. Okay, so now pay attention to this little cutie right here and what I'm going to do to him over in my contour box. Okay, so I can, if I wanted to, I can remove these little circles. I can remove his mouth. I can remove his little stomach area. I can remove one eye. Okay, I can even remove one of his arms if I wanted to. Okay, so that's what contour does. So this little guy is contoured. This little guy is not. Oh, that makes me think about Three Little Pigs. This little pig on the market. Okay. All right. So that is how you use the contour option. Okay. So I have reviewed those tools. I'm going to show you what each of those lines or each of these looks like when they are cut. I'm going to show you the difference between cut lines and attach and what it looks like to weld, what slice and flatten also look like. Let me duplicate this and change it up and do this. Not contoured. Okay. And wait. This one is contoured. This one is not contoured. Okay. Hopefully that did not confuse you. He's actually contoured. This is contoured. And this one is not contoured. Okay. Hopefully that did not confuse you, but you understand how to use it now. Okay. So now let me just see how I will get this cut. So it's probably going to ask me for one. Let me get all of this attached. Let me get it just like this so I can have it all on one mat. Okay. Let me attach that. I decided to speed this part up because what I'm doing here is just repositioning my images and my names so that I end up with 5 mats. And in order to do that, I needed to resize some of the images and I wanted them to be a little bit more proportionate. So with the part that needed to be flattened, of course, I needed to make sure that my workspace was 9.25 by 6.75 because that is the largest space that CRICUT Design Space allows for print then cut. So right here, I'm just repositioning my image, making them smaller as I need to. And then what I'm going to eventually do with those hearts is just rotate them so they all fit on that one rectangular piece. Okay, once I had that, then I moved the slice. I just, made it smaller and I repositioned it. I repositioned the little cutie and the not contoured. I brought that in closer and smaller because it didn't really need to be cut that big. And sometimes I lose sight of the size of things when I make the view on my canvas smaller. So I'm just repositioning once again to make sure that I only end up with 5 mats, 1 mat for each of the tools. Okay, so far so good. One is print then cut. I have my attach. I have my slice. I have my contour. And I have my weld. Okay, so I am going to click continue. And I'm going to use adhesive vinyl for all of these. For each one of these, I will choose the premium vinyl setting, except for this one that is the print then cut. Everything else I'll do will be back on the camera. So my first mat that is going to be cut is the one that says Weld, and I'm just going to load it into my mat. It is not mirrored. Load it into my Cricut Explore Air 2. It is not mirrored. and we will see what it looks like when an image is welded. Okay, before I unload it from my mat, remember I said I always feel it to make sure it cut all the way through. I'm pretty confident that it did. So I'm gonna go ahead and unload it and get this weeded out. Okay, so I have my name and these hearts welded, and you see there's no cut line on the hearts and everything is smooth, and I can transition this whole thing with one piece of transfer tape. Before I do that though, let me go ahead and get the next mat cut out, and that is the one that is contoured and not contoured. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so I'm going to check to make sure that it's cut, and I feel like it is cut really good. Feeling good about it, feeling really good about it. Let me go ahead and remove it. And let me kind of just scrape it, go over it with my scraper to make sure that when I start weeding that I don't have any issues. Okay, so remember this mat is the one that has a cutie that is contoured and one that is not contoured. Okay, so I have my not contoured cutie, so he's just in perfect shape. And I have my contoured cutie, so he only has one eye, no belly, doesn't even have a face, and he only has one arm. So that is how the contour feature works in CRICUT Design Space. The next mat that I will get loaded is the one for slice. Okay, I'm feeling it, making sure it's cut all the way through. I did do a double cut just to be on the safe side. Now I will get this one weeded. This is what the slice feature looks like. I'm trying to cover my mat because it's not clean, but there you go. The next mat is one that shows that I will use to demonstrate attach. Okay, I have it unloaded from my mat. I've checked it, and I am going to go ahead and get this weeded, and you probably hear my printer printing in the background. So this is what the attached image looks like, because there's a cut line when you attach. That's the difference between attach and weld. Okay, let me get my print then cut, load it on my mat, and get it cut out. I had to come back into CRICUT Design Space because when I got ready to do my print then cut for the flatten part, I remembered that I did not put an offset or any layer behind my name or behind the word flatten. And if I don't do that, each one of these letters will be cut out individually, and I don't want that. So let me show you what I did. Let me undo this. So I went to my name and I clicked offset. This is not available on phones. I don't think it's available. This feature is not available on any phones. I know it's available on laptops and desktops. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit, the offset, and I'm going to click apply, and I'll keep the offset black. So I will select over my name again, and I will flatten it. Okay. And now this is all one thing, and then I'll also add an offset to the word flatten so that it is all cut together. And I'm going to increase the size of it. Hopefully you can see what's going on here, because I want this to all be one piece. And I will then select the whole thing and flatten it, and I will still make sure that it will fit on that rectangle that CRICUT Design Space will allow, for spacing, 9.25
by 6.75. Okay, so let me bring this over. Let me actually bring these down a little bit because I want this whole thing to fit, and I don't want to have to print more than one sheet. So let me make sure. Let me go ahead and attach this now. Perfect. Okay, so now I can turn these off because I've already cut these. Already, this part is finished. Now I just want to click make it with this, and it will tell me to, I can click continue. I'm going to send this to my printer. I'm just going to use just a regular, for this tutorial, I'm just going to use a sheet of cardstock. I want to send through my printer, and I want to use system dialog. I always keep add bleed on. You can turn it on, turn it off, totally up to you. I keep it on because it adds a tiny little offset and it helps me get a good clean cut. So I choose to keep it on. I'm going to click preferences, and my media is, I'm just going to keep it on plain paper. And I'll do print with high quality. I will click OK. I'm not mirroring this at all. Click print, and my printer will select it, and everything I'll do will be back on the camera.
I have my image printed out from the printer. I'm going to load it on my mat in the exact same way that it was from CRICUT Design Space. Okay, I'm loading it exactly how it looks from there, and I will get it inserted, and I will choose cardstock because that's what that is, and I will click the flashing C. Okay, I've unloaded it from my mat, and hopefully you can see that this is a print then cut, because that's what happens when you flatten. You get a print then cut image. So if I were to remove the cardstock, or even turn it over and show you what I'm left with, you will see this is what print then cut does. This is what flatten does. And I can also remove the small pieces that are here in the middle. So I can see that there's a piece here, there's a tiny piece there, here, and these inner pieces. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so hopefully you were able to follow along with my full process. I've shown you all 5 of the tools that are available within CRICUT Design Space. I showed you how to attach and how it's different than weld, because with attach, you see I have a cut line here. This is what it looks like when you weld. It puts 2 objects together and it's a smooth, there are no cut lines. This is what an image looks like when it's not contoured. This is what it looks like when it's contoured. This is what the slice option looks like. Remember, you can only slice 2 layers at one time. And last but definitely not least, this is what happens when you flatten. You turn your image into a print then cut. So if I were to pick this piece of cardstock up that has my name on it, I could actually make this into a sticker just by adding some adhesive to the back of it. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful for you. If you did find it helpful, please go ahead and hit the like button, and go ahead and subscribe. Turn on the bell for notifications, because I do upload new content every single week. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks for watching. Bye. So without further ado, we are going to head right on